Okay, before I say anything else, I need you to just sit with me for a second. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't something I planned, and it isn't something I'm proud of keeping secret. But I found something today, and it changed everything I thought I understood about silence, about waiting, about love that hides in the corners of a house and never says its name out loud. My little brother, who is 12 years old, who still leaves his socks on the living room floor and forgets to flush sometimes, wrote you a letter. Not me. Him. And he didn't ask me for permission. He didn't tell me he was doing it. I found it folded into a square the size of a matchbox, tucked under the corner of my desk mat, like he wanted it close to me, but not close enough that I'd notice right away. And when I unfolded it, my hands were shaking before I even read the first line, because I recognized his handwriting, those crooked letters that lean a little to the right, like they're in a hurry to get somewhere. And I knew immediately this wasn't a joke. This wasn't him being silly. This was him trying to say something for me that I have been too scared to say myself. I want you to understand something about me before I tell you what was in that letter. I am not a man who talks about his feelings easily. I was raised in a house where love was shown through actions, not words, through fixing things, through showing up, through quiet presence instead of loud declarations. So when something matters to me, really matters, I tend to go silent instead of saying it. And I think on some level my little brother has been watching me do that for months now, watching me hold something in until it almost hurts to carry it. And he decided he was tired of watching. He decided that if I wasn't going to tell you, he would. The letter started with my name, but it wasn't addressed to me. It said your name. And then it said something so simple, so painfully simple, that I had to sit down on the edge of my bed and just breathe for a minute before I could keep reading. He wrote, "She doesn't know how much my brother loves her. He thinks I don't notice, but I do. He smiles different when she's around. He gets quiet in a good way, not a sad way. I think someone should tell her before it's too late, so I'm telling her now." That's it. That's how it started. A 12-year-old boy in pencil, on a torn piece of notebook paper, doing what I have been too afraid to do for longer than I want to admit. I don't know if you've ever had someone see you more clearly than you see yourself, but that's what this felt like. My little brother sees me. He sees the way my voice changes when I talk about you, the way I check my phone differently when I'm hoping it's a message from you, the way I get this strange kind of stillness in my chest when your name comes up in conversation, like the whole room goes quiet just for a second. I thought I was hiding it well. I thought I had built walls around this feeling, kept it locked up somewhere safe where it couldn't embarrass me, couldn't put me in a position where I might say something, and you might not feel the same way back. But apparently a child with a pencil and an honest heart can see straight through walls that I thought were unbreakable. I keep rereading the next part of the letter, because it's the part that broke something open in me. He wrote, "I don't really understand love yet, but I know what it looks like when someone has it bad." He talks about her like she's the best part of his day, even when his day was bad. He laughs different talking to her. I want him to be happy, and I think she makes him happy. So I hope she reads this and knows. A 12-year-old's definition of love, written in pencil, and somehow it's more honest than anything I could have written myself. Because he wasn't trying to be poetic, he wasn't trying to impress you. He was just telling the truth as plainly as he could. And the truth, when it's that plain, has this way of hitting you harder than anything dressed up in pretty words ever could. I want to be honest with you about something else, something I haven't said out loud to anyone, not even to him. There have been nights, more of them than I'd like to admit, where I've sat with my phone in my hand, typing out messages to you that I never sent. Messages that started with, "I need to tell you something," and ended in the trash folder because I lost my nerve halfway through. I'd write 3 paragraphs about how you make ordinary days feel different, how your voice has this way of settling something restless in me, how I find myself thinking about you at the strangest times, in the middle of a meeting, while I'm making coffee, right before I fall asleep, and then I'd read it back and panic, and delete the whole thing, and tell myself I'd say it another time that kept never coming. So when I found this letter, in the handwriting of someone who hasn't even lived long enough to really understand heartbreak. It felt like the universe was tired of waiting for me too. Like even my little brother had run out of patience watching me almost say things and never quite get there. And I sat on the edge of my bed for a long time after I read it, just holding that little square of paper, thinking about every moment over these past months, where I wanted to tell you how I felt and didn't. Every silence, where the truth was sitting right there on my tongue, and I swallowed it instead because I was scared. Scared of what it would mean if I said it and you didn't feel the same. Scared of what it would mean if I said it and you did. Because here's the thing about real feelings. The kind that build slowly instead of arriving all at once. They get heavier the longer you carry them alone. And I have been carrying this for a while now, longer than I think you realize. It started small, the way these things usually do. A conversation that went longer than it needed to because neither of us wanted to be the one to end it. A laugh that came easier with you than it does with almost anyone else. A comfort in silence with you that I don't normally feel, where I don't need to fill every quiet moment with noise, because just being near you is enough. I didn't notice it happening until it had already happened. Until I was already someone who thought about you first thing in the morning and last thing at night, and somewhere in between, I'd stop being able to imagine my days without the thought of you somewhere in them. My little brother's letter kept going, and there's a part further down that I have to tell you about, because it's the part that made me realize how long he's actually been watching this unfold. He wrote, "Remember when she came over for dinner and he wouldn't stop talking about the meal she helped cook? He talked about it for like a week. And remember when she texted him during the basketball game and he smiled at his phone like it said something amazing, even though I bet it was something normal. And honey, I have to laugh a little even writing this to you now, because he's right. He's completely right. You sent me a text that night, something so simple, just asking how the game went. Just a few words, nothing dramatic at all. And I remember exactly where I was sitting on the couch, and exactly how my whole chest felt lighter reading it. I didn't think anyone noticed that. I didn't think my reaction was visible to anyone but me. But he saw it. He's been quietly collecting evidence of this feeling for longer than I knew, building a case for something I was too nervous to argue for myself. I think what scares me most about all of this, about you reading these words right now, is that once something is said, it can't be unsaid. Once I tell you how I feel, there's no taking it back into the quiet place where it used to live safely, where it couldn't be rejected, where it could just exist without consequence. But I'm starting to understand something my little brother seemed to understand before I did. That keeping it quiet doesn't actually keep it safe. It just keeps it lonely. It just means I get to sit with this feeling by myself, instead of finding out whether it's something we could build together. And lonely isn't actually safer than risk. It just feels that way, because it's familiar. There's a line near the end of his letter that I haven't been able to stop thinking about. He wrote, "I don't want him to be sad about not telling her one day. I want him to tell her now while it can still make things better, instead of just being something he wishes he did." Out of the mouths of children, right? He's 12, and he understands regret better than I do sometimes. He understands that the things we don't say have a way of turning into the things we carry the heaviest, long after the moment to say them has passed. And I don't want that. I don't want to be someone who looks back on this season of my life and realizes I let the most honest, gentle thing I've felt in years slip by, because I was too afraid of how it would land. So here I am, saying it. Not perfectly, not the way I rehearsed it in my head 100 times, in the shower or in the car or lying awake at 2 in the morning, but saying it the way it actually feels, which is messier and more vulnerable than any version I planned. I think about you more than I probably should admit this early, in whatever this is between us. I think about the way you tilt your head slightly when you're really listening to someone, like you're trying to understand them all the way down, not just hear the words they're saying. I think about how you remember small details about my life that I mentioned once in passing, weeks ago, and bring them up again like they mattered to you too. like you were actually paying attention instead of just waiting for your turn to talk. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know what it does to someone to feel truly listened to, maybe for the first time in a long while? I think about your laugh too, the real one, not the polite one you give to be kind, but the one that comes out when something actually catches you off guard and delights you. I've made it my quiet mission to try to get that laugh out of you whenever I can, and I don't think I ever told you that, but it's true. There's something about being the reason someone's whole face changes, even just for a second. That feels like the closest thing to magic I've experienced in a long time. And every time I manage it, every time I see that real laugh instead of the polite one, something in my chest does this thing I don't have words for, this warm unfolding feeling, like a held breath finally being let go. My little brother doesn't know everything, of course. He's 12. He doesn't know about the nights I've spent wondering if I'm imagining the way you look at me sometimes, wondering if the warmth I feel when we're together is something you feel too, or just something I've built up in my own head because I wanted it to be true. He doesn't know about the fear underneath all of this, the part of me that has been hurt before and learned to protect itself by staying quiet, by not naming things too soon, by waiting for absolute certainty before risking anything at all. But maybe that's exactly why his letter mattered so much. Because he doesn't know all the complicated adult reasons I had for staying silent. He just saw something simple and true, and he acted on it the way only a child who hasn't been taught to be afraid yet would. He saw love, and he called it love. No hedging, no waiting for the perfect moment. Just the truth, written in pencil, folded into a square, and left somewhere he knew I'd eventually find it. I keep thinking about how brave that was for him. 12 years old, and braver about my feelings than I have been. There's something humbling about that, something that makes me want to be a little more like him, a little more willing to just say the true thing instead of circling around it forever. So tonight, instead of writing another message I'll delete before I send it, I'm letting these words exist. I'm letting myself say that I think about a future that includes you in it, in small ordinary ways, coffee in the morning, conversations that go too late into the night, the kind of comfortable quiet that only happens between two people who have stopped performing for each other and started just being themselves. I think about that future more than I probably should, given that I haven't even told you any of this before now. But I can't help it. My mind keeps wandering there anyway. Like it already knows something my mouth has been too slow to catch up to. I don't know exactly what you'll feel reading this. I don't know if this is something you've sensed too. Some quiet thread between us that you've also been too careful to pull on. Or if this is going to surprise you completely. If you've had no idea any of this was happening underneath the ordinary moments we've shared. Either way, I needed you to know. I needed you to understand why a 12-year-old's handwriting ended up meaning more to me than I can fully explain. Why I sat on the edge of my bed holding a square of notebook paper, like it was something fragile and important, because in a way, it was. It was the truth I'd been too scared to hand you myself, finally making its way into your hands anyway, just through someone braver than me. There's something else in that letter I haven't told you yet, something near the very bottom, almost like an afterthought, but it might be the part that matters most. He wrote, I hope she likes him back. I think she does. I just think someone needed to say it first. I think she does. 4 words that have been sitting in my chest since I read them, refusing to leave, growing a little louder every time I let myself imagine they might be true. Do you? Do you feel even a fraction of what I've been carrying around silently for all these weeks? Because if you do, I don't want either of us to keep waiting for the right moment anymore. I think this is the right moment. I think it's been the right moment for a while now, and we were both just too careful, too scared, too unwilling to be the one who says it first. I keep coming back to the image of him writing this, hunched over his desk probably, tongue between his teeth the way he does when he's concentrating hard on something, trying to find the right words even though he's never been in love himself, trying to translate something he only understands from watching me, from watching the way my whole demeanor shifts when your name comes up. And somewhere in that translation, in that simple, clumsy, 12-year-old handwriting, he managed to say something truer than I've managed to say in months of almost telling you. He gave me a gift today, even though I don't think he fully understood the size of it. He gave me the courage to stop almost saying this and just say it. So I'm saying it now, in my own words this time, even if they're not as brave as his were. I think I've been falling for you slowly, quietly, in the kind of way that sneaks up on you, instead of announcing itself, in the small moments rather than the big dramatic ones. The way you ask follow-up questions like you actually want to know the answer. The way you remembered, I don't like cilantro, and quietly avoided it the next time we ate together, without making a big deal out of remembering. The way your voice sounds a little different when you're tired, versus when you're excited. And I've started being able to tell the difference, without you even saying which one it is. These are small things, they shouldn't add up to this much. But they do, they have. And I don't think I want to keep pretending they don't anymore. I keep wondering what you're feeling right now, reading this, hearing all of this, for what might be the first time. I wonder if your chest feels the way mine did when I read his letter. That strange mixture of fear and relief, like something heavy finally being set down after carrying it for too long. I wonder if you're smiling, or if you're as nervous as I am, or if some part of you already knew, already sensed this building even before either of us said anything out loud. I wonder if you're going to read this, and finally let yourself say the thing you might have been holding back to, whatever that thing might be. My little brother is asleep right now, probably has no idea the chain reaction he started, by folding up a piece of notebook paper and tucking it under my desk mat. He doesn't know that I'm sitting here now, talking to you, finally saying the thing he gave me the courage to say. He doesn't know that his clumsy, honest, 12-year-old words about smiling different and getting quiet in a good way are the reason I stopped being afraid tonight. But I know. I'll always know. And someday, when he's older, when he actually understands what love really feels like, instead of just observing it from the outside, I think I'll tell him what his letter did. I think I'll tell him he was the reason I finally found the nerve to stop almost loving you out loud and start actually doing it. I don't know what happens next. I don't know if you'll read this and feel the same warmth I'm feeling right now. That strange mixture of terrified and certain, scared and sure all at once. But I know that I'm done pretending I don't feel what I feel. I know that every quiet moment between us, every late-night conversation, every small detail you remembered about me that you didn't have to remember, every time your laugh caught me off guard and made something in my chest unfold, all of it has been building toward this, toward me finally saying it instead of just feeling it in silence. And maybe that's all love really is sometimes. Not some grand cinematic moment, but a 12-year-old's letter. And a grown man finally finding the courage to stop being afraid of his own feelings, and a woman somewhere reading words that have been waiting a long time to find her. I keep thinking about the part of his letter where he said someone needed to say it first. I think about how true that is, not just for me and you, but for anyone who's ever sat on a feeling too long, because saying it out loud felt riskier than carrying it in silence forever. But silence has never actually protected anyone from heartbreak. It just delays the conversation. It just means you find out later, instead of now, after more time has passed, after more moments have slipped by that could have been spent actually together, instead of circling each other carefully, both too scared to be the one who says it first. So here I am, saying it first. Not because a 12-year-old wrote a letter, though that's certainly what gave me the final push I needed. But because somewhere underneath the fear, I've known for a while now that this feeling isn't going anywhere on its own. It's only been growing, getting harder to ignore, getting harder to file away as something I'll deal with later. And I'm tired of later. I'm tired of almost. I want to know what this actually is, what it could become if we both stop being so careful with each other and just let it exist out loud instead of in the careful, guarded spaces we've been keeping it in. I think about all the ordinary days we've shared so far and how none of them have felt ordinary at all, not really, not when I look back on them honestly. I think about how even the most uneventful afternoons with you have a kind of glow to them in my memory. A warmth that doesn't belong to ordinary moments, the kind of warmth that only comes from being around someone who matters more than you've let yourself admit. I think about how easily I imagine more of those days, more of that warmth, more of you in the small, unremarkable corners of my life that somehow feel less unremarkable whenever you're in them. I don't know how to end this, and honestly, I don't think I want to. I don't think there's a clean way to close something this honest, something that's still unfolding even as I say it. I think I just want to leave it open, leave the door open, leave the question hanging there between us, the way my little brother left his letter under my desk mat. Quiet, a little nervous, but completely achingly honest. I think I want you to know that I'm not taking these words back. That I'm not going to pretend tomorrow that I didn't say them tonight. That I'm done almost telling you and ready to actually know what you feel back, whatever that answer turns out to be. I think about him sometimes, my little brother, sitting hunched over his desk with his tongue between his teeth, writing words he barely understood the weight of. And I think about how strange it is that the bravest person in this whole situation might be a 12-year-old who just wanted his older brother to be happy. I think about how he saw something in me that I was too scared to name myself, and how he decided, without asking permission, that the truth deserved to exist out loud instead of staying hidden forever. And I think more than anything else tonight that I'm grateful to him, more grateful than I'll probably ever be able to fully explain, because without that little square of folded notebook paper, I might still be sitting here right now, typing out a message I never send, deleting it before I find the courage to let it exist. But I'm not deleting this one. I'm letting it exist. I'm letting you have it, all of it, every nervous, honest, unfinished piece of it. And I'm sitting here now, waiting, hoping, wondering what you're feeling on the other side of these words, wondering if somewhere in your chest there's a quiet truth that's been waiting, just as long as mine has to finally be said out loud.